There's no escape.
Boom. What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's Matt with YadaCoin. Let's get that out of there. All right. Little flub on there. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about Bitcoin I think that a lot of people want to explore what the other options are. What is Bitcoin really? You know, um, there's so many Bitcoin maximalists out there, and I'm still mostly one of them. But there are some considerations. You know, you have to give this kind of thing some critical thought. You know, there's money involved, and the future of the world, the future of money is involved too, right? So you can't just take things at face value and assume that they're going to be the same way forever. You know, it's a highly dynamic, very new industry. And so, you know, we need to make sure that we're vetting everything properly and also continuously vetting it. You know what I mean? We need to make sure that we're always keeping tabs on the latest changes and taking a deep dive into all the features that are being added, like this new Taproot stuff that's being added to Bitcoin. It's like, well, you know, it's new for Bitcoin, but is it actually new for the industry? You know, how is it positioned now that there are so many options out there for privacy and anonymity? Wait, I mean smart contracts and privacy. What else? Transaction processing rate. I mean, we all know Bitcoin's slow as hell, so that's not even really a factor. So, you know, their latest Taproot stuff is basically they're trying to compete in the privacy game, and I guess they're maybe trying to compete in, I think that's really about it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, smart contracts. Yeah. So I guess they are with Taproot. They're trying to enhance their, you know, your ability to write more advanced scripts that they are calling smart contracts. And I assume that, well, they kind of are, but at the same time, it's it's like how an Atari is a home gaming console, but so is the PS5, right? So it's like you have smart contracts. Technically, yes, it's a smart contract, but you're writing it in assembly. It's like, come on. I want to do smart contracts in opcode. Anyway. Oh, yeah. So that's what we'll get into tonight. Let me just make myself smaller and introduce a new window.
An IPO, or initial public offering, is the initial sale of a company's stock to the public. Prior to the IPO, the company's stock is privately
It always shows
held
the
and
latest
cannot be sold to the public.
Window.
Bitcoin isn't static, it evolves. In 2021, Bitcoin activated Taproot, one of the most important upgrades in its history. But what is Taproot? Why is it needed? And what does it mean for Bitcoin's future? Okay, so before Taproot, Bitcoin's scripting system struggled with privacy and flexibility. Complex transactions like...
Hold on. This is not updating. Oi. Come on. Don't do this to me.
Bitcoin isn't static, it evolves. In 2021, Bitcoin activated Taproot, one of the most important upgrades in its history. But what is Taproot? Why is it needed? And what does it mean for Bitcoin's future?
Okay, let's watch some of these Taproot videos.
Okay, so before Taproot, Bitcoin's scripting system struggled with privacy.
And then I'm just going to comment on them
complex transactions
as
like
we go.
multi-sig or Lightning Channel opens were easily distinguishable on-chain, which hurt privacy. Plus, Bitcoin lacked efficient ways to build more advanced smart contracts.
More advanced smart
Taproot
contracts.
combined 3 major technical upgrades. Number 1, Schnorr signatures, a new signature scheme replacing elliptical curve digital signature algorithm, or ECDSA,
which allows you to aggregate signatures. But don't get that confused with ring signatures of Monero, because signature aggregation relies on the cooperation of the signers. Totally different. That's what they don't tell you until you dive into this. That's why I feel like these people are like shills or hype people, because they leave out these small critical details that are essential to you making a good decision. But they don't mention it. Maybe they don't know, but they are definitely not correct about what's going on with Bitcoin, with Schnorr signatures. Yes, it increases the efficiency. This is true. But Bitcoin is not private. It's not.
With faster, smaller, and more secure cryptography. Number 2, TapScript, an upgraded scripting language that expands what Bitcoin can do in the future. And number 3,
Those are just more opcodes. They just added more opcodes to the script section. So when he says scripting, we're not talking about really advanced scripting. It's going to be very rudimentary, very low level. And it's going to be much more cumbersome than everything else that's out there on the market. Everything is better than this, and they're just coming out with it. This is their latest and greatest feature, and everything is already better.
Taproot itself, a new way of spending coins using a Merkleized alternative script tree or mast, letting users hide complex spending conditions unless needed. So,
let's hold on. So, letting users hide complex spending conditions until they spend it. Okay? Again, it's these little details. It's like, okay, you're not hiding anything. All you're doing is hiding it until you're spending it. You're hiding the additional methods for spending, but you're not hiding once you go to spend it, because they're going to talk about Merkle trees, and what that means is just a bunch of hashes hashed together, right? So the Merkle tree is a hash of spending conditions. Is a bunch of hashes of a bunch of different spending conditions. Okay? And so this is your script tree. Okay, and so they're saying it's private because you have all these different hashes of the script tree, and you reveal one and all the other ones remain private. Okay. But if you compare that to Monero or some of these other ones, I think Zcash, that's actually private even when you spend it. It's even when you spend it, it's private. This is not private. Your transactions can be traced. Do not get that twisted. You will get traced. Like, if this was really private, would they really keep Bitcoin listed on all these centralized exchanges? Would they really do that? It's like, wouldn't it go to the wayside like Monero being, sort of banned, more or less, blacklisted? being added to some of these centralized exchanges because it's too private? No, of course, you know, because it's not private. They know they can trace it. Okay, anyway.
Coin transactions look simpler on chain. If you're spending coins with a straightforward signature, your transaction looks the same as anyone else's, boosting privacy. If you're using advanced script,
no, okay, so yeah, it's such a vague way of putting that. It looks the same as everyone else's. So again, with like Schnorr signatures, you're adding the signatures together, but you're doing so with people that you're cooperating with. So you're not obfuscating any transactions with strangers. Critical point there.
Scripts, only the spending condition you actually use is revealed. The rest
Boom.
is hidden. Schnorr
exactly.
signatures also let multiple signers combine signatures.
So why even say private if it's revealed when you spend it? Who cares if you're hiding it before it's spent? I can't, I mean, maybe there's a use case for that, but it's such a narrow use case. I want to hide who it's going to. Okay, maybe, but I thought that the problem was traceability.
Signatures into one, called key aggregation, reducing transaction size and fees for multi-sig wallets. Okay, so
that's
Taproot
true.
Brings big benefits. Firstly, improved privacy for all users. Secondly, lower fees, especially for complex or multi-sig transactions.
Probably.
Thirdly, more flexible smart contracts and scalability opportunities.
That is a big maybe. It depends on who you ask. If you're a Bitcoin developer, then this is probably a welcomed change, and you probably understand how to implement it because you've already dealt with so much Bitcoin stuff to this day. You know, you've already gone through pay to public key hash, pay to script hash, SegWit version 0, and then now you have SegWit version 1. So you're already in there. You're locked in, right? You already know how to use opcodes and things like that. But if you're a new developer to Bitcoin, you're getting wrecked. You're getting cooked. It's not going to be a good time for you. Why would you do it? Anyway.
And lastly, better compatibility with layer 2 solutions like Lightning Network. Taproot lays the groundwork for more advanced Bitcoin applications like covenants, payment pools, and more scalable Lightning channels. It's a big...
Covenants. Really? This is actually a hotly debated topic. The Covenant Vault. There's a few different ways to go about it, but if he's talking about an opcode called check template verify, then that hasn't actually been activated yet. It's still a soft fork because it's so hotly debated. They don't really want to implement it because you're basically predetermining which addresses so you're determining which addresses coins can be sent to. So this basically could relegate some coins to like only KYC wallets. So it could actually drastically undermine privacy.
Step forward toward Bitcoin becoming not just digital gold, but programmable money, while staying secure and decentralized.
Again, programmable. That is a huge That's a very presumptuous word. This is not going to be, if you're thinking you're going to go into this and it's going to be like, you're going to be programming smart contracts using like a typical Turing complete language, you've got another thing coming. You have definitely got another thing coming. You're going to be using like go-tos and line labels and shit like that. It's like going back into the 80s. So I don't know. All right.
You might have heard about Bitcoin ordinals, which are digital artifacts or NFTs on Bitcoin. Taproot makes ordinals possible by enabling new ways to inscribe data directly on-chain using Taproot's flexible script paths. This has created new excitement around Bitcoin's potential for art, collectibles, and more. To learn more about...
Will not happen. Will not happen. Take this to the bank. Okay? Bitcoin will not be used for NFTs. There are, aside from the fact that NFTs, as they exist today, are fundamentally flawed, Bitcoin is the worst option for dealing with NFTs, for handling them, for storing them, for verifying them, all of it. It's the worst option. Bitcoin is slow. Bitcoin does not have, the transaction throughput. The block size is a huge issue. Those two things alone. I mean, you're introducing artwork, which means you're introducing a lot of space, a lot of storage, right? So, how big is the art we're talking about? It's just not going to happen. I don't know. They just like implement these these services that they're these protocols and features that just pay lip service to the latest trends, but they implement them poorly. It's like taking an old dog and trying to teach it new tricks. Its back hurts, its knee hurts, and it doesn't quite do it quite that great. It's like it was made to do this one thing, and it did it great. So why not just let it do that?
Bitcoin ordinals by checking out our Learning Center article, What are Bitcoin Ordinals? Taproot shows Bitcoin's innovation doesn't stop. It enhances privacy, scalability, and programmability, all while preserving the core principles of decentralization and security. Want to explore Bitcoin and its latest innovations? Download the Bitcoin.com wallet and start your Bitcoin journey today.
Okay. Well, that
Cole,
was
he's
interesting.
My miracle child. So how does your miracle child get...
Enough. Sorry, I don't mean to do that. That actually seemed like a nice message. I just don't like ads, that's all.
Bitcoin isn't static.
All right, let's see. We want to do... Oh, yeah. I want to do... Yeah, let's look at this. Okay, so Bitcoin Taproot. I want somebody to explain it to me. Oop. I think this is it.
Taproot upgrade is here. Bitcoin just got better.
No, this isn't it. There. It was the top. Oh, yeah, this one. Okay.
Here we go. Yes, I'm going to try it, segue in one slide. So
And again, I have
that there are a lot more
nothing
details to
against
this.
any of
So I'm
these
gonna, give it like a
streamers or
high-level
anything
view,
like
but
that.
Hopefully at the end of this
But
slide, you'll understand, if you don't already, a little bit what SegWit is.
so this isn't personal against
So
them,
in
but
Bitcoin, we have
the
blocks.
information
So
that they are
block
sharing
really just,
is
it's got a header,
echoed
which
throughout the
has,
community.
like, some cryptographic signature in it, and so on. And then you have there are a lot
Okay,
more details to this. So I'm gonna.
Okay, so here's somebody explaining Taproot. So they went out of their way to explain Taproot, and watch how that goes.
Give it like a high level view, but hopefully at the end of this slide, you'll understand, if you don't already, a little bit what SegWit is. So in Bitcoin, we have blocks. So a block is really just, it's got a header, which has like some cryptographic signature in it, and so on. And then you have a bunch of transactions that make up that block. And if we zoom in on a transaction consists of what are called inputs and outputs. And then altogether, that has a transaction.
Okay, we'll skip.
Received, and then a signature.
We already know this part, so we're all caught up.
Script hash.
Pay to script hash.
So
that's what YadaCoin
what's
does.
different
The top one.
So
sorry,
still
public key
inputs
hash.
and outputs. And when you zoom in, something is going to be a little different here. So you still are spending an unspent transaction output, right? So you still have this UTXO, and then you have the same signature, right? So you receive the transaction in the normal
and just
way
what
from a.
Okay, so watch how this goes. Watch how explaining this goes. So you see how easy it was to explain pay to public key hash. Very straightforward. Very easy to understand once you kind of, grasp a few core concepts. But here you have somebody who's studied this a bit, and watch. Previous
account. But here's what's different. So when you're sending this transaction now, you say the amount, but instead of a public spending script, you have a set format for spending, where there's a opcode, which is a version, which for the original SegWit is just op0, right? So this is the version. So it'll be version 0 of SegWit, and then it has something called a witness program. So when a legacy blockchain looks at this, all they see is, you just have to take my word for this one, but it just looks like anybody can spend this. So this is.
All right, already struggling a little bit. Let's try it. Let's see.
A valid transaction. It looks like, you saw somebody transact from someone to someone else. And to legacy person, you think that you can spend that Bitcoin because it doesn't have a public key in it. But
what?
The soft fork actually does enforce that public key is spent through something called a witness. And so when you actually do want to spend that, being the one that is on the other side of that transaction, the receiver, you know what your witness program is. So when you spend it, it looks interesting. So the input to that transaction doesn't have a signature. It just, you leave that empty, and everything else. So here's another SegWit transaction. It's just going to be, again, to the same kind of thing, version witness program. But you have attached to this transaction something that's the witness. The witness is actually just the public spending script that we had before. Right, so it's basically the same as this, right? But it's taken outside of the transaction now, and that means that it's taken outside of this, and it's taken outside of the block. It lets us do that. So a miner will still verify the witness before allowing that block to be mined. It's not actually an anyone can pay, but it means that we save a lot of space. We now have more than 1 megabyte block.
Okay, cool. Got it. But it's like, that is not an easy explanation.
Transaction ID actually doesn't.
No one's picking up on this.
So the witness, remember, is the signature. Okay, the witness
Look
is
at the
signature
comments.
that yes, I'm allowed to spend it.
Jamming 17 slides into one slide is cheating.
It was verified by a miner that they were allowed to spend it. It's in there. We trust that it's okay. We don't need to include that in a transaction ID. And that's something that actually enables a practical Lightning network. This was required to do that.
Before describing a solution
more than one signature
to a problem,
that is valid,
it would be very helpful to describe exactly what problem you're trying to solve.
And have two different transaction IDs and that it created transaction malleability, which was actually one of the attacks that was used against Mt. Gox to take money out of them. You have other benefits. Now we have SegWit version 0 is what's the same. It's a different type of encryption scheme.
All right, so we have Schnorr
really
signatures, and you can add them together. Again, all of them need to cooperate together. You're not mixing signatures with strangers or anything like that. It's not Monero. It's not. It doesn't do that.
To do. It makes signature aggregation easy. So if you have, for example, if you want to create something
with cooperating parties,
payment, so
we have to add that
private keys that are able to spend, you can aggregate those signatures into a single key, and this is what it looks like. So
Schnorr signatures, again, like, oh yeah, they were made in, like, somebody developed that in the 70s, like in the 1970s. Okay, this is not new stuff.
So these are Bitcoin addresses. This is a typical SegWit paid to witness public key hash. This is what a public witness script hash looks like, and a Taproot transaction looks just the same. There's actually a small difference. This is so it's called BEC32.
And so you see the little BC1P. That's the difference. That's how you're supposed to know that this is a pay to Taproot address.
2M, the format of the Bitcoin transaction, and it actually just fixes a bug that exists in the current version, which is an innocuous bug. I believe if it ends with a P, you can insert as many Qs as you want, and it passes the checksum. It doesn't really matter for any applications, but hey, why not fix it?
It fixes a bug?
Like, okay?
What?
You generate this one public key. You no longer need to have
in Bitcoin,
a complex,
no less.
Inclusion of each of these public keys. So in the old version of Bitcoin, you would need to include each of these public keys in the transaction output. Now you only need to include one. So you get savings.
What the hell?
And when you want to spend it.
All right. So he's not even getting into the scripting.
You see a signature 3. So you need to provide the answer. So let's just say
yeah.
3 was that.
This is the
if you can answer that, you get these Bitcoins. So
this is the tweak.
You say
you tweak. This is the tweaking stuff. This is such BS, honestly. Having worked with this, I was like, what the hell? You're tweaking means you're actually adding just more hashes and mixing it into, like, in recalculating the public key. Basically, that's what tweaking is. It seems like that's all Bitcoin really can do. Like, as far as innovation goes, all it can do is just do more with hashing. Like, hash play. They're just playing with hashes over and over and over again. Finding new ways to do that. You don't see any, like, moon math kind of stuff going on like you do with zero knowledge proofs and some of the more modern crazy privacy stuff, ring signatures, all that jazz. All right.
Say, oh, it's 4. Because what it means is all these complicated scripts, they look exactly the same as a pay to public key hash. Everything here, just like to the legacy clients, it looks like anyone can spend transaction, but you have a lot of power here. Each of these transactions had a different size. So when you have
so why is this
transactions with different
powerful?
sizes, I didn't really talk about it here, right? Like, you had these SegWit transactions were
like who cares? That is not powerful. No one cares about that. There's no use case for it. People want real privacy. If you eventually reveal your spending script, then you're toast. You've just shown who you are, because now there's a public key trail from your KYC source to you. I mean, not saying that's a bad thing if, just for using Bitcoin, but if you are expecting privacy, that is not privacy. It's like being in a bathroom stall in a public bathroom with, with the doors and the walls up, but you have the space underneath where the feet are, and you can see their feet. You can see, you walk by the little the little gaps between the door and stuff. You can tell there's someone in there. Not very private. Okay. And then, and like when you actually start using the toilet, the fucking door flies open. Okay, that's what that is. So, anywho, so let's see here. Let's take a little deeper dive. And Tonopolis, I think is how you spell it.
Please talk about what we're seeing on Taproot.watch so far. Can a bad state...
All right, let's listen to that actually.
Please talk about what we're seeing on Taproot.watch so far. Can a bad state actor stop 90% from being reached? I've heard there's a user-activated soft fork if we don't hit 1815. Any details would be appreciated. Can I help to somehow reach 90%? Thanks. That's a great question. Let's look at what Penn and Teller are talking about here. You see here, Penn and Teller mentioned Taproot.watch. There we go. All right. Can you see that? This is a website called Taproot.watch, and Taproot.watch shows us the current activation. So this is a website that tracks the information that is present in the blocks. Now, basically, every Bitcoin node out there, every Bitcoin client, every Bitcoin miner is seeing the same information. And this website is tracking it for you so you can visualize it and see it. Every 2016 blocks from the Genesis block, we have a difficulty period. And that's the period in which difficulty gets readjusted every 2016 blocks. So within that period, that's a signaling period. We use the same 2-week period to do a round of voting. So
okay, yeah, we knew that.
In the current round of voting, what you can see here is out of the 2016 blocks that are in the current round, you see that 963 blocks have signaled yes. That means those blocks had, within their version number, they had a yes.
So this is 4 years ago. Okay. And that means that they've had 4 years to get their shit together. And they haven't done that. Okay? Because the critical piece of this really is their check template verify. And like that's the only thing that really like allows you to do pretty cool stuff, I guess. Covenant wallets and whatnot. So but you can't do that because that's not activated yet. So there's still some soft fork items that are related to Taproot that haven't even been activated yet. Okay.
Like if you look at this green block, right? And I can actually click on this. This one was mined by F2 Pool. and this is a clickable button. So let's click on it and see what happens. It's kind of cool. So this takes us to a website that is tracking blocks. If you look at the version number of all of the ones coming
that's fine.
next,
Whatever.
yes.
All right. My apologies. We shouldn't have looked at that. There's another one. It's like a podcast or something. Lex Friedman was talking about Taproot. I guess that was 4 years ago. Maybe that was before. Back when he would cover anything. Doesn't seem like it's in his wheelhouse. That's all I'm saying. Okay, let's look here.
Good evening, everyone.
That makes it simple for how Chris lost his Bitcoin. That should be interesting. There is. Oh, wait. I think I had it on my phone. 1 second. It's a great example. Antonopolis. Anyway. I don't know. Maybe I've made all the points I want to make about that. As far as the technology goes, developers are not going to like it. It feels old. You write a lot of code and you do not accomplish much. There's a lot of black box going on where as a developer, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes, really. If something goes wrong, especially, like when you need to debug it, you don't know why, like, you're getting a certain address. And you have to actually go into the framework and figure out what bytes are moving around and what's hashing what and all that stuff to be able to debug it. It's a major pain in the ass. And I will say I did not have to go into the framework one time with Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, all that jazz.
Good evening, everyone.
Did not have to do it one time.
This is my first time in Sweden, and
So let's crank on some tunes. Oh, I guess we could just flick to here. Huh. Where's my video on there? Oh, that's not good. Oh, my video went out somehow. One moment. Okay, there we go. So, where are we at? Where does that leave us? Well, okay, yeah, so Bitcoin's a dinosaur. All right, everybody knew that. Great. But it's still the most ubiquitous, it's still the most used, right? And I'd actually have no problem using Bitcoin. Except for the fact that if institutions start to use Bitcoin and they anoint, or sorry, if institutions do not use Bitcoin, that's what I'm talking about. If they go ahead and use like Solana or Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain or Cardano, some of the ones that we've heard grumblings about with the US government, and they don't use Bitcoin, what do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin at that point? Do you think that Bitcoin will stand on its own still and people will use it even when, you know, there's USDT that you can use with a credit card or a debit card? You can have a USDT checking account. Do you really think anybody's going to use Bitcoin after that? When it's that tightly integrated into our financial systems? Bitcoin will disappear if that happens. There's no way that it can survive that. It's too slow. And it doesn't have the integration that that the others would have at that point. So that's the real threat. So you just basically have to look at, you know, what integrations are going to be done. Some people might say, well, we're still going to use it because it's decentralized. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because we said the same thing with social networking. People always choose the free and convenient option. They will sacrifice privacy. They will sacrifice confidentiality. They will sacrifice it all as long as it's free and fast and sanctioned by the government, corporation approved, all of that stuff. That's what wins. Okay? Don't play yourself. But you know, Bitcoin is a good project if if the government does not choose something else. All right. I feel like I've annoyed a lot of people today. You know, just because it, you know, Bitcoin is kind of a touchy subject. So let's just chill out for a second. Let's chill out for a second. Let's do some announcements real quick. I forgot to do that before getting on here tonight. And we're on YouTube tonight. A little bit of a departure from the norm. We've added a channel. We're now paying for Restream. Going live now. HTTPS youtube.com/ I think it's Yada Blockchain. Oh, it's at Yada Blockchain. Right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, we have some cool stuff going on that I want to share. So, you might be asking, well, what happens to YadaCoin if Bitcoin fails? And, you know, everybody starts using this, centralized option because it's fast and government sanctioned. Well, that's why YadaCoin is more than just a payment network, right? So that's why you have to have a utility beyond just sending money, right? So that's the whole point behind utility tokens, is that they have a utility beyond simply sending money and being a payment network. And so that's why YadaCoin is special. It's like the best, most simplest layer of Bitcoin. None of this hacky shit. And then you have the social graph on top of that. The ability to add identity into it. Encrypted communication, key management. Like, these are real use cases. These are real use cases that people actually care about. Okay. All right, just putting some okay. Announcements are out. Blockchain versus bullshit. This ought to be interesting.
It really is about looking forward. We're going to have a future stargazing session this morning, and someone who doesn't need a lot of introduction to other than to say he is a world-class expert in his
is doing about 60 to 70% have Bitcoin at the moment or have conducted a transaction. About 30 or 40% with Ethereum. What
I remember
exactly
this.
is going on here?
He actually
Is
talked
this
about social
the
networking.
greatest technological innovation and explosion of innovation